Hi, welcome to Therapy with Risa. I'm Risa and this is Max. And if you're someone who likes talking about mental health, addiction recovery, holistic healing, then you are in the right place. And today we're going to talk about temptations and self-control. Why is it so hard to resist temptations? Whether it's addictions, bad habits, or emotional struggles, self-control can feel impossible. But what if I told you there was a way to strengthen it? But first, let's define temptation. What is temptation? Temptation is an urge to engage in a behavior that provides immediate gratification but has long-term negative consequences. Temptations can lead to a desire to relapse into addiction. It can lead into compulsion to eat, compulsion to shop, overwork, overspend, self-harm, substance abuse, drinking. Everyone is different. Then there's also the temptation to escape comfort, escape discomfort. The temptation to escape discomfort from negative feelings, emotional pain. We all naturally have the tendency to try and escape discomfort. All of us, every one of us. And that is a temptation that we should want to try and control and be responsible for having self-control and self-discipline. Temptation is whatever your vice is, whatever floods your brain with dopamine, and everyone is different when it comes to what floods your brain with dopamine. And for me, it was opioids. For other people, it's different. It may be food or sweets or whatever, you name it. So it's good to practice self-control. Now let's talk a little bit about unchecked temptations and the possible destruction that may come with unchecked temptations. When we repeatedly give into temptations, it reinforces our impulsivity and it causes us to become more impulsive and lack self-control. So if you do not practice self-control right now, it's going to be harder for you to do it later on down the road. It's like a muscle. You have to train your muscle, your self-control muscle. From a neuroscience perspective, it is literally the battle between impulse and control between two different regions of the brain, the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex. The limbic system is the emotional, the reward center, and then the prefrontal cortex is the rational decision-making center and where you have self-control. So then that is why teenagers have a lack of self-control, because their prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed. So why is self-control so important? Why am I talking about it? Self-control is essential to mental health recovery. Self-control helps you to learn delayed gratification, and it improves all areas of your life. It helps prevent relapse by helping people learn how to tolerate discomfort by not giving in. It builds emotional resilience, teaching people how to cope with stress, and it enhances relationships, as a lack of self-control destroys relationships. And you can tell when someone does not have self-control. If you're someone who has self-control and someone else does not, it is very obvious. So like a muscle, you exercise your muscle, your self-control muscle, work your brain and practice. All of these things are important. It's just as important as going to the gym and working out. As important as it is as going to the doctor and getting your annual checkup. Except therapy, I think people should go at least once a month. Let's talk about a classic study on self-control and long-term success. This study is the Stanford Marshmallow Experiment. And in 1972, children were given the choice of either eating one marshmallow immediately or 2 marshmallows if they waited 15 minutes. And the study found that the children who resisted doing that and waited 15 minutes to get 2 marshmallows, those children ended up having a better life outcome later on. They mentioned including higher academic achievement, healthier relationships, and better emotional regulation. So self-control as a muscle, how it can be strengthened. Remember, small wins matter, and you should always register them. Every time you have a small win, register it in your brain and say, good job, and or whatever you want to say, pump yourself up, yeah man, and then you continue on. Ways that you can practice self-control or tolerating discomfort could be exercise a little bit longer than you normally do, resisting junk food, committing to a routine, committing to not swearing for a week, having 1 cup of coffee a day instead of 5, limiting yourself to $30 when you go shopping, or watching the TV for only 30 minutes a day. Practice, and I guarantee you will fail, and that is absolutely okay, but you will get better. So remember that. You will get better. You will fail, but you will get better. As many of you know, I am a Christian and a believer in Jesus Christ, and so I am going to share my biblical perspective, because if it wasn't for God, I would not be here today, no doubt about it. So here are some Bible verses I would like to share with you. First is Galatians 5:22-23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. So the fruit of the Spirit, we're not born with it. We develop it. Another one I like is 1 Corinthians 10:13, and it says, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He'll not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." So that to me says that God does provide a way out. And if you cannot find a way out, then maybe you're looking for trouble. Okay, the last verse I want to share is Proverbs 25:28, and it says, "Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control." So what these verses say is that temptation is normal, but it can be resisted. The more you think about good, positive things, the more your brain creates more of those neurons, and self-control is developed over time. And you might say, okay, well, what if temptation is just right in front of my face? That's just the way it's going to be. That's life. And it's going to get worse with the temptations as our society progresses. So the time is now to learn self-control. You have the power, so keep your power by practicing self-control. So how do you strengthen self-control with so many temptations out in the world? Well, step 1 is recognizing your triggers. Know what triggers you into the state of mind that you don't want to be in. Once you've identified triggers and you develop more self-awareness, then you want to learn to pause and delay. Delay longer than you usually do. Count to 10 slowly if you have to, so that you can give your brain some time to process. And your brain, when it processes things, it starts from the limbic brain before it reaches the prefrontal cortex. So it does take your brain a moment before it starts thinking rationally. Then the next step would be to replace bad habits with good ones. Once you learn self-control, you will realize that you have a lot more time for other things like your hobbies, self-development, studies, other things, your passions. And most importantly, you'll have time for your spiritual journey. And spirituality is something I think is so important that everyone has. Temptation will always exist, but you have the power to overcome it. With the right mindset, strategies, and faith, self-control isn't just possible, it's within reach. Thanks for watching. This is Therapy with Risa and Matt. We would also like to know what helps you resist temptation. Comment below and let us know. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.